It looks like the Bandai Namco pump and dump anime scheme is up when it comes down to it, because Bandai Namco has now announced that they have canceled at least 5 games in development, and they now want to focus on or have an emphasis on quality. Now, for those who don't know, back in 2023, I made a video talking about the Jujutsu Kaisen game, the upcoming one, saying it's another arena anime fighter, that these have been low quality. They simply get the license for these awesome, massive animes and somehow make an F-tier quality game or a D-tier quality game, and they've been doing this for decades at this point, getting the license to a really good Shonen Jump anime or a really good anime, making a bad game that corresponds to it, with every now and then having a few diamonds in the rough or awesome games like Dragon Ball FighterZ, or even to a degree Dragon Ball Kakarot, right? That game is okay, but most of the time it's very lackluster arena fighters that they've been doing. Now, when I made that video, a lot of you guys were like, no, we have to wait and see, we need to give the game a chance. And now that the game came out with Jujutsu Kaisen, The Cursed Clash, it pretty much flopped. It didn't do that well at all on PlayStation in Japan. It only sold like 20-something thousand physical units on the Nintendo Switch. And on Steam, the game set a record for the most refunds within like the launch of a game. Over 100,000 refunds for that game. That is terrible. That will get you to completely change what you're doing, because you are losing money at this point. But this is a dangerous game that Bandai Namco has been playing. This pump and dump scheme. Get up these big animes, pump them up, and then put them out there, then dump them right afterwards and move on to the next thing. They have done this for quite some time. They did it with Jump Force. They did it with their lackluster Naruto games, their one-button combat Naruto games. They did it with Naruto to Boruto Shinobi Strikers. That was terrible. They did it with Dragon Ball Z Raging Blast 1 and 2. They did it with My Heroes 1 Justice and its sequel. It's just pump and dump, and now they're on to My Hero Rumble, right? The Fortnite, Battle Royale My Hero game that you don't even know what's going on screen half the time. It's the pump and dump scheme with all of these anime games, and it seems like they've said, okay, enough is enough. No moss overall, because they are starting to lose money and there are starting to be quality issues that they clearly see that people have a problem with. But I think that the JJK game was the straw that broke the camel's back with those 100,000 refunds on Steam. Once again, a new record. So we're going to talk about that and a bit more, and what's going down with Bandai Namco, what's happening with the Nintendo Switch 2, what's happening with the PlayStation and Xbox and their future, how they're going to cultivate their good franchises like Tekken, Tales of Arise, Scarlet Nexus, Soul Calibur. We're going to talk about all of that. I think it's going to be very enlightening here. But before we get into that, what's good, everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to the video. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you are someone new, and click that notification bell to get my videos first. And let's jump right into this article. This was on Eurogamer, but it was on many other sites. Many people reported on it that Bandai Namco has all of a sudden turned a leaf when it comes down to it. So I wonder what exactly caused it. Well, we talked about it there, but we'll get more in depth into it. So Bandai Namco has revealed that it canceled development of at least 5 projects following a review to implement stricter standards and an emphasis on quality in its upcoming games. The information comes from the company's latest financial report for Q3 of FY 2024, which contains changes to its projections of profits and sales for the full fiscal year. Now, Tekken 8 Elden Ring publisher lowered its projections profits due to valuation losses. These losses include loss on disposal of titles following a review of the composition of the titles within the next midterm plan in mind, the company stated in its report. Now, the article isn't done here, but I want to kind of interject in here. They're having these losses because, yes, they have to pay for these licenses. Yes, they're not cheap, but they're not making any money off of it. If you look back, you look at the disaster of Jump Force, you look at the disaster of the latest Naruto game, which is essentially just a huge rehash with some extra stuff added in. So yeah, and it didn't necessarily review well either, so that's not doing that great. But then also the My Hero games. My Hero is still one of the top animes, and nobody cares, and nobody is buying any of the previous 2 regular My Hero games they put out, the Arena Fighters and then the My Hero Rumble. I think they announced that they have like 1 million downloads, but I don't know how successful that game is. That game could be shut down this year. So they have all of these investments with different animes, and they're paying the licensing and the fees and all of that, but these aren't selling up to where they used to sell back in the day when they at the peak of the Dragon Ball Z and some of their other pump and dump schemes with the anime games. It is not quite as good. The old school like Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm 1 and 2, those definitely sold better and made more than what's going on right now with these other pump and dump scheme games. So that's the issue, and that's where the losses are kind of coming into play here. Now let's continue on here with the article. Now in a follow-up Q&A session, a Bandai Namco spokesperson confirmed, quote, at least 5 other titles under development have been canceled alongside the decision to end support for online games and other products subject to this disposal. So VGC also reported on that. Now Bandai Namco revealed that it's implemented, quote, stricter standards for proceeding with development, and it's looking to build an, quote, optimal and well-balanced title portfolio in the upcoming years with an emphasis on quality. This includes strategic worldwide titles and casual titles for light users. The company added it seeks ways to optimize releases amid longer development cycles. Now they also stated they're waiting to release for the Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. There's also an Elden Ring mobile game that's in development with Tencent. So here is the thing with this, guys. I think that there's a lot of companies that have realized this sooner or later, especially the Japanese companies. With the development cycles getting longer and longer, with development getting more expensive, you need to really emphasize quality. Quality has to be something that is at the forefront. You can't be pumping and dumping anime games like you did in the PS2, PS3, PS4, and tried to do in this generation. It's just not working. Everybody is not buying your bad Naruto games anymore. Everyone is not buying your bad My Hero games anymore. Everyone is not buying your bad Dragon Ball Z games anymore. When it comes down to it, you've got to have quality. Dragon Ball Z changed with Dragon Ball Z Fighters becoming one of the best, if not the best anime game of all time, in my opinion at least. And I think that they really have to look at this. And I've been stating this for a while now, that these anime games have just been terrible. Jump Force was a complete train wreck, and it's already offline and it's already done, right? They barely even supported that game, and that was supposed to be a combination, or that is a combination of all of these incredible anime that have such dedicated fan bases and have legacies, and that's what you put out. You put out a quick pump and dump anime scheme, and I think that all of this is now reflecting. You can do that and it can work for quite some time, right? It works for a bit and you can be propped up, especially when you have great games like Tekken and Tales and other franchises that can also bring in stuff. You can be propped up for a while, but it'll always come back to get you at some point, especially if quality isn't what you're looking for. It doesn't matter if you sell 20 million copies or 30 million copies of a game that isn't good or not. At some point, if you consistently have bad quality, people aren't gonna buy it as much. You're not gonna sell as much as you want. Wherever your projections are, you need to make sure that you have a certain level of quality for gamers out there. And as someone who's big into anime myself, and I used to play all of these anime games, it's so bad with the quality. I look at some of these arena fighters that come out, like JJK, even though, yes, I'm not into the franchise as much. I know that, you know, there's people that are into it, but even the people that are hardcore into the franchise looked at that arena fighter and said, this doesn't look good. It looked so basic. It looked so boring. It did not look good. And I don't want to put down the developers because I'm not blaming the devs. I'm blaming management for rushing out a JJK game and for making it bare bones and not investing. Think about it for a second, guys. A franchise like My Hero, I love My Hero. I think that it's fantastic. They have Nomu. They have all these different characters with quirks. They have all these different side heroes. They have all this different lore with the All for One and One for All. They have all these different things, like with everything, with All Might, and so much stuff that they can dig into. You can go back into the past. You can kind of go into what they're doing right now. You can have an action RPG. If you put some money into it, if you put some time, 3-4 year development cycle, you could have made an incredible My Hero game, instead of making 3 crappy My Hero games in 4 to 5 years like they did, you could have made one incredible My Hero game. With all that money that you spent on the license, the development of those 3 games, you could have made one incredible My Hero action RPG. And that would have been way better. That could have sold millions upon millions of copies. Instead, you're left with 2 anime arena fighters that are dead online, that nobody plays, and you're left with a My Hero Fortnite clone that's not very good. That's what you're left with. If you would have just taken the time and effort to get an anime action RPG out there with My Hero, you could have had way better profits, way better results at this point, because I think the first My Hero game came out, I think back in, what was it, 2019, 2020? I don't remember exactly when, but it came out a number of years ago. So to me, this is what they need to do. Now, it's not all negative and bad with this, guys, because I think that they're finally realizing that they can't do this anime pump and dump scheme. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're probably still going to have 1 or 2 here and there, but we haven't heard anything when it comes to some of the other anime franchises that they do have a license to. Maybe they do have some other things, but they canceled 5 games, and I can guarantee you, like, at least a minimum of 2 to 3 of those games were anime arena fighters. I can almost guarantee you, after the JJK debacle, the just complete horrible debacle of JJK, the refunds, 100,000 refunds plus, I guarantee you they're like, all right, we got to do something because the jig's up. At this point, people aren't buying. People know. People are gunning when it comes for these anime arena fighters. They're tired of them. So they have to focus. If you're going to do a great anime license or IP, you have to put the time and effort. The fans are not stupid. They are not going to consistently buy bad quality, especially when it's been happening. And this time we have way more reviewers. We have way more people talking about games. There's Twitter and there's social media. There's all these other things. When people see that something is bad, they will say it and it will cause a chain reaction. So Bandai Namco, get it together. It looks like you guys are saying we have to implement better quality, because I know you guys aren't talking about the Tales of franchise. I know you're not talking about Scarlet Nexus. You're not talking about Soul Calibur. You're not talking about Tekken. So what else are you guys talking about? It's absolutely the anime arena fighters, because all those games that I mentioned are all high quality games that get good reviews and decent sales for the most part. So to me, it's the anime arena fighters. It's the anime games that have just been lackluster, but mainly the anime arena fighters. And Bandai Namco, you got to change things up, because you pretty much have the license. Nobody else can make any big games with those franchises. Now, we do have a Hunter x Hunter game coming out from aiding a competent developer that actually made better Naruto fighting games than any of the recent Naruto games that have came out with the Clash of Ninja series back on the GameCube and the Wii. They are making a Hunter x Hunter 3-on-3 fighting game that I think is going to be really good. But yeah, outside of that, there isn't much competition for you guys. So get it together, focus on the quality, and do what you need to do to take advantage and leverage those IPs that you have paid a lot of money to have, and make sure that you do good by the consumers and making sure that the franchise and the quality is good with the games. There's no reason for it not to be. So the pump and dump scheme, it's up. It's over at this point. Well, we'll see what happens in the future. So what are your thoughts on this, guys, when it comes to Bandai Namco and what they have to say here, canceling at least 5 games? What games do you think those are? I mean, like I said, I think they're anime games, but what do you guys think that they are? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, thank you guys so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and make sure you check out my other videos right here on screen. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.